Hi, welcome to another sneak peek Saturday at the Alameda Free Library. My name is Jenny, and today we're going to read some nonfiction. The book is called Reborn in the USA, and it is by Roger Bennett. It's pretty funny. So I will read you the first couple chapters, but before we get started, read you the inside of the flap, like always. Being a teenager isn't easy, no matter where in the world you live or how much it does or doesn't rain in your hometown. As an outsider, a private schooled Jewish kid in working class, heavily Catholic Liverpool, Roger Bennett wasn't winning any popularity contests. But there was one idea, or ideal, that burned right in Roger's heart. That was America. With its sunny skies, beautiful women, and cool kids with flipped collars who ate at McDonald's. When he embraced American popular culture, the dull gray world he lived in turned to neon teal, a color which had not even been invented in England yet. Introduced first through the gateway drug of The Love Boat and then to Rolling Stone, the NFL, John Hughes movies, Run DMC, and Tracy Chapman, Roger embraced everything that would capture the imagination of a teenager growing up stateside. When he made a real, in-the-flesh American friend who invited him over for the summer, he got to visit the Promised Land. A month in Chicago and a life-changing night spent in the company of the Chicago Bears was the first hit. Okay, so of hot wings and fast cars. I was born, reared, and raised on American soft power. A bloke who grew up in the murk of 1980s England, inhaling everything American I could lay my hands on. The movies, television, music, books, clothes, and occasional pair of knockoff Ray-Bans that made the United States my light in the darkness. America existed almost as an alternate planet to me, a place filled with possibility and promise where life seemed to be lived with a different gravitational pull. One that could not only sustain existence, but empower joy, hope, love, and laughter, even if much of that laughter was clearly of the canned variety. All of this fueled an inner life that had a substantial influence on my identity. At different times in my youth, I have tried to boost my fragile self-confidence or at least minimize my deep sense of self-loathing by persuading myself. I am Don Johnson. I am Walter Payton. I am John Cougar Mellencamp. I am the Beastie Boys, Ad Rock. I am Tracy Chapman. Notions I made real in a way by moving here and becoming not only a citizen but a gent who, in his own mind, loves America more than Bruce Springsteen loves America. Someone who adores nothing more than to travel across the great nation, reveling in every regionally specific hot chicken wing, barbecued rib, or corn dog it can provide. New York, Louisville, Charlottesville, Nashville, I say we're all the wills. I know some of this will sound trite. I love a nation based on the largely fictional stories, images, and myths it patterned about itself. Having lived in the United States for more than half my life now, I am keenly aware that The Love Boat, Pretty in Pink, and Miami Vice are not the real America. I also understand the real America has flaws, like every nation. But that knowledge does not diminish the awesome power these images held over me as I was growing up, because they were so vastly different from the grim everyday reality I was exposed to. This was the power I acted upon, moving here, shaping my life, and changing my family's destiny. All of this feels almost implausible now from the perspective of the America in which I now write. Over the past year, the coronavirus pandemic, Black Lives Matter movement, and the toxicity of the 2020 election have created the impression we are a nation that is divided, chaotic, and racked by fear. I reeled upon reading a Pew Foundation study that discovered only 46% of Western Europeans currently hold a favorable view of the United States. At a time when the world cries out for the kind of global leadership that once enchanted me, America's soft power has imploded. Months lived in lockdown give plenty of time for the mind to wander. I have spent a lot of mine digging deep into memories of an era when the United States felt very different. Looking on from across the ocean, the United States appeared to me a beacon of such courage, tenacity, and wonder that it changed everything I thought was possible about the world, and gave me the confidence to chase those possibilities with the passion Tracy Chapman once sang about fast cars. As such, this book is a love letter to America, a place that has played roughly the same role in my life as ballet dancing did for Billy Elliot. It is also an investigation into whether it is possible to be what you are not, to be shaped throughout adolescence by a country you have never set foot in. Ultimately, I attempted to write this book in the spirit of the love, hope, and optimism I believe will prevail. I came of age with the stars and stripes and the Manhattan skyline painted as a mural on my bedroom wall and ended up moving here. I still believe the act of becoming an American citizen is the single greatest achievement of my life. I now live on the Upper West Side of New York City. On my dining room walls is a photo of my great-grandfather Harris, clad in the uniform of the Russian army, in which he had been forced to serve. He is the man who had first boarded a boat believing he was setting sail for the United States, only to end up in Liverpool, England, by mistake, setting off my family's obsession with the United States. Alongside it is another photograph, a black and white image of a thick-necked, savage-looking bloke from family lore. Has as my great-great-great-grandfather. No one can remember his name. The photograph used to be one of dozens that graced my grandfather Sam's living room. I loved to point to it when I was a kid and listen to my grandfather tell me all he knew about this man, the sum of which amounted to: he was the one who once fended off a murderous Cossack to save our family. He was the Cossack killer. My greatest hope is that in 5 generations' time, my NBC network headshot will similarly hang on one of my descendants' dining room walls. They will look up occasionally during family meals, share together, and when asked, point at it with mouths still full. We can't remember his name. They say, but we do know he's the one who first moved the family to the United States of America. A room full of strangers. New York City, March 8th, 2018. The drabbest of surroundings can often conjure the most magical of scenes. I say this to myself as I slump into a cracked plastic seat in the bowels of a government building in the southern tip of New York City, along with close to 400 other unfortunates. A veritable United Nations of races, ethnicities, backgrounds, and classes. All of us are at different points at the patience grinding bureaucratic labyrinth that is the United States citizenship process. U.S. citizenship and immigration services waiting rooms are designed to control people who have to wait a very, very long time. Practical, functional, purpose-built to numb the senses and control and command through boredom. Every room smells of stale sweat and cleaning product. Each is a different shade of shabby beige, broken up only by the reds, whites, and blues of the randomly scattered ego-filled posters screaming, "Securing America's Promise," battling for attention alongside those that bark "no cell phones" in handwritten Sharpie. Although there are several hundred people waiting, the entire room is almost silent. There's a sound of muted feet and government-issue linoleum, a can of soda clattering out of some nearby vending machine, a pencil being ground in an automatic sharpener. Despite the humdrum vibe, there is a palpable feeling of nerves and fear. To be a visitor in this room is to have survived countless rounds of interviews, background checks, and fingerprinting biometrics in the 2 years or more of the American citizenship process. We are so close to our personal promised land, yet as everyone is intensely aware, one mistake, slip of the tongue, or wrong answer, and it could all end. I am, I hope, at the last step of the naturalization process, the citizenship test, and have been ushered into an antechamber cordoned off from the bigger waiting room, a holy of holies open to the dozen of or so candidates who are similarly at the final stages. I am wearing a suit and tie in a craven effort to project as much polish as is humanly possible while being perched on an orange plastic seat. Alongside 2 fellow applicants, a pair of Mexican gents in grease-stained chef smocks, one sporting a hairnet as they whisper, giggle, and occasionally take turns to knuckle punch each other's biceps. We are snapped to attention the moment a harried-looking, plump Department of Homeland Security employee lollops into the room. He reaches the doorway and, after slowly pulling out a lectern that had been hidden there, wedges himself in behind it. "De Rune, linear, de Rune," he calls out while flicking lazily through a sheaf of papers. Behind me, a pair of elderly Belgians struggle to their feet in unison and shuffle forward toward the lectern from the back of the room. One sports a well-worn, slightly faded black beret, the other a fraying purple scarf, bedecked with the logo of Belgian football club Anderlecht. The jaded caseworker cannot mask his impatience as they amble in his direction. "Lena de Rune?" he inquires again in a very tone that causes the beret wearer to speed up his step and, in a thick Flemish accented English, intercede on his compatriot's behalf. "He speak only the Flemish," he explains. "Can you translate?" Snarls the caseworker impatiently. "Yeah," the old man nods. "Okay, tell him to put his right hand over his heart and repeat after me." The old Belgian does as he is told, and the caseworker begins. "Lennart de Rune of Anderlecht, Belgium, you have completed the naturalization process and will now be sworn in as a citizen of the United States of America." Those last 14 words totally transform the energy in the room. All eyes immediately lock onto the scene unfolding before us. I had been feverishly reviewing the answers to citizenship test questions that stumped me the night before, but in an instant stopped whispering. Benjamin Franklin was also the nation's first postmaster general, and the number of amendments that have been proposed to the Constitution is 33. A Sikh student pulls his eyes away from his geographics textbook, and an African mother in beautiful colors tilts her head to the side. Even the Mexican boys call a truce on their play fight and stare. After clearing his throat dramatically, the caseworker begins the oath of allegiance with a flourish. I hereby declare on oath that I absolutely and entirely renounce and abjure all allegiance and fidelity to any foreign prince, potentate, state, or sovereignty. Then pauses to allow Belgian to whisper into his companion's ear and translate. Ik verklaar hierbij onder ede dat ik absoluut en volledig afstand doe van alle loyaliteit en trouw aan elke buitenlandse potentaatstaat of heerschap. Vincent Proposcov Guy declares, seeming almost magically to stand a little taller with every word. The immigration caseworker's demeanor also changed. It was as if, for him, the Oath of Allegiance is a beloved song on a classic oldies radio station. No longer fatigued, he begins to deliver his lines with an oaky baritone timbre. I take this obligation freely, he sings with heft, enjoying every possible drawn-out syllable until it comes to the final phrase, so help me God. For a beat there is an awkward silence. Something so human and profound has just occurred, but in a room full of strangers, the caseworker is by now totally committed. Yes, you should clap, he says, summoning a solemn tone befitting of the moment. And we do. Every single one of us, bonded in our shared desire to become American. A tough-looking Eastern European fellow clutching a man purse is the first. Everyone quickly follows suit. As that applause becomes a standing ovation, the old man turns around and faces us. Abashed at first, but then, like a veteran flyweight boxer who has survived a grueling 12 rounds and been awarded the decision, he slowly raises his hands above his head and begins to punch the air with his thin, frail arms. As he does so, a single tear runs down his cheek, and I realize I'm crying too. I want what he just received, American citizenship, to my very core. And then a voice rings out from the reception's public address system. Bennett, Roger Bennett, citizenship test, room 42. That's where I'm going to stop. Reminds me a little bit of Bill Bryson's I'm a Stranger Here myself. So if you enjoy that author and that book, I'm sure you will enjoy this one as well. Again, this is reborn in the USA, and the book is written by Roger Bennett. As always, you can find this in our news section. There's a spine logo, the call number. Feel free to place a hold on it if you want to make sure that it's available when you come in. I hope you enjoyed this, and as always, I will see you again in 2 weeks.